McMenamin, Ramona Shelburne, and, of course, NBA champ himself, the rookie on the set, Channing Frye. Welcome aboard.
Thank you guys for having me. It's great to be here, Dave. Always good to see you. Ramona.
Got it.
You didn't have to carry backpacks or anything like that?
Nothing.
After the show.
Yeah,
after the show. After the show, we'll do lunch. We'll do lunch and, maybe an Aperol Spritz. We're good.
Well, there we go. Now we're talking. All right, let's get to the top here of our show. Developing story. The NBA has hired a law firm to investigate the Clippers and Kawhi Leonard. This, according to The Athletic. Last week, the Pablo Torre Finds Out podcast reported that Kawhi had a $28 million, quote, no-show endorsement deal with the now bankrupt company Aspiration. And the attention is now moved to team owner Steve Ballmer and whether or not the deal was used to circumvent the salary cap. All right, so, Ramona, let's start here. You sat down with Steve Ballmer. What is your biggest takeaway of everything that's transpired, and where are we right now?
Well, Steve Ballmer mentioned in that interview that Aspiration had actually tried to bid on the naming rights of what became the Intuit Dome. The Intuit Dome ended up being named for $550 million. And he said in the interview, well, they bid more than that. Well, from what I understand from Clipper sources, they bid almost double that $550 million to name the Intuit Dome, and they were turned down because the Clippers wanted to go, this was Ballmer's explanation, they wanted to go with Intuit, which is a long-standing company. But that gives you an indication of the kind of money that this company was throwing around back in those days. Now, obviously, the NBA investigation will want to discover all of the documents that prove that, or Steve Ballmer said this is provably false. He referenced an email that he says from November of 2021 where he introduced Kawhi Leonard to this company at Aspiration's request. Well, they'll want to see that email and other emails. They'll want to see everyone's cell phones. And so we are at the beginning of a very, very long process.
Okay, so I mentioned a second ago you sat down with Steve Ballmer for SportsCenter. Let's take a listen and a look at that real quick.
They did request to be introduced to Kawhi. Under the rules, we can introduce our sponsors to our athletes. We just can't be involved. We made an introduction. That was in early November, well past when all of this happens. We had a chance recently to go through all of our relations with Aspiration. This is where you get to kind of how you prove this stuff. We, as a part of our cooperation with the Department of Justice and the Securities and Exchange Commission, we had produced text, emails. We'd already gone through all this stuff because it was part of document production in their investigations. And we even found the email that makes the first introduction. It was early November. I won't remember the exact date. So where could any of this circumvention have happened? It didn't. It couldn't have. The introduction got made, and then they were off to the races on their own. We weren't involved. I eventually learned that they had reached a deal. I have no idea what the deal was.
When you signed Kawhi in 2019, the NBA had an investigation that his uncle, Dennis Robertson, asked for extra benefits, whether it be use of a plane, a house, guaranteed endorsement opportunities. And at the end of that investigation, you were cleared of wrongdoing, but they left open by saying if any new information comes to light, they would reopen that. So since 2019, has Dennis Robertson asked you for any other benefits that would be in violation of the league rules?
They know the rules. They, meaning Kawhi and his representatives, including his uncle. We know the rules. And if anything's not clear, we remind ourselves what the rules are. And we make absolutely clear we're going to abide by those rules. And they understand them as well. And it's important for them to abide by them, which they have.
If this story had come out about another team, another owner, how would you feel about it?
I'd want the league to investigate, take it seriously. Like I said earlier, the salary cap circumvention rules are important to the league, and I'd want the league to investigate.
And just so we're clear, you never directed anyone from Aspiration to do an endorsement deal with Kawhi Leonard?
No, I didn't. And more importantly, we, the Clippers, did not. We didn't give them direction. We made an introduction as is appropriate under the rules. A lot of sponsors do like to, they call it activate by doing something also with players. We made the introduction, and that was that.
How do you the Board of Governors meeting is in a few days. How do you think your fellow owners are going to approach this?
I don't know. I don't know. I hope they'll have faith and confidence in me, the folks who've gotten to know me, but I can't predict.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Ramona.
Appreciate
Really appreciate the opportunity to talk about what we've done and express, I guess, some of the anger I'm feeling about what's going on. And I also feel some sadness for our employees. I'm mad, but I'm also sad that they're going through this as well as our staff and our fans.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks.
All right, Ramona, anything to add to that?
Well, this is an interview where you ask a yes or no question. You're not really supposed to do yes or no, but the question on Kawhi Leonard's uncle, Dennis Robertson, had he ever asked you for more extra benefits, was a yes or no question, and there was not a no. I mean, eventually they got to we have to abide by the rules, but I think that was an interesting answer. And it's interesting also in that there was a Toronto Star report that came out over the weekend by Bruce Arthur, and it said at one point during their free agent recruitment, Dennis Robertson had asked for shares in the Toronto Maple Leafs and was told, no, you can't do that because that's part of
they own both teams, yeah.
And so I thought that was this obviously has come up before. We've had investigations on this before, and here we go again. And that's been an issue with Kawhi Leonard dating back to his San Antonio days.
Channing, what are your thoughts on all this?
Honestly, I think you got to ask. Like, you really got to ask. For a guy like Kawhi Leonard, I think as far as I know, he lives in San Diego. So it's like, hey, can I take the helicopter to go visit my family on these off days? Can I go see this? It's your agent's job to ask these uncomfortable questions away from Kawhi. And at the end of the day, looking at Steve Ballmer, is the juice worth the squeeze to go through all this, have all this paperwork? It just doesn't make sense. You have a new arena. You're trying to get your team into to be a contender. You're doing all these things that are billion-dollar checks. What is that $28 million really over whatever contract that is? That's not worth destroying your team. And you see his enthusiasm. He's probably the most enthusiastic owner. Why would he go behind just to leave a paper trail like this? It just doesn't make sense. It seems too sloppy.
I think we have to look at what parts of this story are legitimate and concerning when it comes to the Clippers, and then what parts of this story are actually common business practice in the NBA. Let's talk about, obviously, the aspiration company having a deal with the Clippers and then having a separate deal with Kawhi Leonard. Well, I can tell you that Crypto.com has a deal with the Sixers. Afterwards, they had a deal with Joel Embiid as the face of the investment. You can say the same thing for Robinhood with the Washington Wizards and Alex Sarr subsequent after that. How about Chime? The Mavericks had a deal as an organization. Later on, Cooper Flagg, an individual deal. So that's common business practice. Beyond that, the question mark is, was this a normal level of tampering, or was this super concerning salary cap circumvention? I was told by a Clippers source that we recognize regular tampering to be like a speeding ticket. Salary cap circumvention is a red line. That's a murder charge, is what the source told to me. And so there is a belief within the Clippers right now that they are welcoming the league's investigation. They are glad to have professionals be able to review the documents that, as Ballmer told Ramona, they've already prepared for the DOJ investigation. And, we could say that Ballmer told us that he was hurt and that he was angry. He may be a little embarrassed as well, too, because he did bring this company deal to the table.